Hello everyone. So today I was looking at this question from Brittany, and the question is about automatic time input for various tasks. And this question is something that might seem unique, but it is not. Many people want to do something similar. So let me explain and try to elaborate this question. So what Brittany is trying to understand is that in Jira, can we create some kind of repository of issues? Let us say 10, 20, 100 issues that needs to be always created, maybe for new projects, or something that needs to be created again and again over the period of time. And for those issues, for those activities, for those tasks, can we also define their standard time? For example, here Brittany is talking about if we have to create a repeatable task that always take or should take 5 days, how can we set it up in Jira? And at the same time, I want to, of course, talk about my view on how we can solve this problem, keeping in mind that we are talking about this particular setup on cloud. And I'm guessing right now Brittany is not really using any app, or maybe she will use an app, but main thing here is that we are talking about Jira Cloud. So let me try to break it down. Let me try to share what we can do. Now the first thing is that we are talking about here some kind of repository of issues that you can maybe store somewhere. So this can be done, and many people do it. They create maybe a project where they keep a list of these issues. I mean, those issues can be in a normal project. Maybe you can tag them, maybe use a label so that you can quickly identify them, and whenever needed you can maybe clone them later on. So you can always use the clone feature in Jira, and this clone feature of Jira issue works really well. And while we're talking about it, let me quickly open one of the issue and show you what I mean. And this clone feature, and by the way, I'll try to give you options, things that you can do without using any app, because that is what this question is telling me. And this particular story, I think this story is a good example. So let us take a look at this story, and I'll probably open the story just in case. We don't have to, but I'll also get rid of the sidebar. And right now we are looking at this particular story with fields filled in. So we do have fields, and we can also fill in fields like story points. Let us say 5, and we can also fill in the original estimate. Let us say 5 days, right? Let us do that. Why not? I mean, maybe it can take 5 days. So we have to use 5D. Come on. I think I forgot how to work on Jira. Okay, so this is basically your story, and maybe I want to create a template. No, story template 1. Now this is of course one issue. We are talking about one issue here, and if I want, I can obviously clone it. This will work, and when you clone this issue, it will actually let you look at the cloned issue. And the thing is that right now this cloned issue is basically a clone in the same project, but you can also move it. Maybe you want to open the cloned issue and then you can move it. It is of course a bit cumbersome. It is not really neat solution, but for occasional copying of data, it will work. And the thing is that it will preserve the data for you. For example, it has the same summary, and the story points and original time estimates, they are there for you. And then you can obviously move it if you want to. Maybe you want to move it to a different project. You can select here the new project name, and then that is one obvious way. Now, I guess you have just realized that this is of course not really going to work for multiple issues, but there is another way. What you can do is, and what I have done, and by the way, these things are based on what I have been doing for my own instances that I used to manage, or maybe for a client, because that is what I do. I'm a consultant. So the next thing that you can do is you can create some kind of an export from Jira. So let us say in your Jira instance, you have identified those issues. Remember I talked about label. So export them in a CSV file where you have all those fields the way you want. And when you export issues to CSV, you can always re-import them. And when you re-import them, you have to map those fields to the respective custom fields. And the good thing about Jira CSV import feature is that you can also create a configuration of those mappings. And by the way, I have actually a repository of some of these configurations. For example, if you go to my repository and if you go to Jira sample data, you can see here that I have here this particular Jira software data, which is actually showing in a table. And if you notice here, there are of course fields filled in. These fields can be of course imported back to Jira. And when you import, you have to map them. You have to basically map these configurations, or basically these columns, to different custom fields. And you can actually click on this particular template of, or rather I should say, configuration of mapping. So when you import the issues back, you can select this configuration file so that you don't have to perform the mapping over and over again. So this is of course one good option. The third option is that you can use automation. You can actually create one automation rule to automatically create these issues based on various events. For example, maybe you want to create a workflow transition that create issues in bulk, or whatever transition you want to name, and write this automation rule that will actually create issues for you. And you can actually do that. There are a lot of use cases. One good example is onboarding. When people onboard something or someone, they want to do things over and over again. And of course, nobody wants to do them manually. You have to automate them, and you can actually automate them. So if you look at, I'm just trying to find a good example, because I do have a lot of, so we do have this rule. Of course, right now we are talking about subtask, but you don't have to create subtasks. You can just create basically your own set of issues using automation rules. While we're talking about it, let us do it. So let us say the trigger is, maybe we'll do it as, come on. Okay, so let us say the trigger is issue transition. So let us say you have an issue where you want to keep track of these things. So the moment you move the issue to, let us say in progress, why not? Let us keep it very simple. New action, and then you can create a issue. And when you create the issue, you can actually define here same project, same issue type, and then you can create multiple of these issues. So this is of course one more way of doing it. Now the other thing that I believe Brittany was asking here is about the capability of Jira, where it will also show summation of those original estimates. So basically what Brittany was trying to understand is, if we create these issues automatically, can those issues contribute towards the plan or the overall effort of that project? Yes, it will, because you have those issues in the project, and those reports that you want to build will reflect that information. And one more thing that she's trying to understand is that how can we do it where users can select from a predefined list, and then the issue will be created again. So this is something that I believe can be done, of course, using automation, where you can maybe create this issue from where you want to trigger the rule to create those issues. But when you create those issues, you can actually ask for maybe some user input. This can work for finite number of issues, or when you want to create those issues automatically, where the number of those issues are not really a lot. For example, maybe you can ask, when you create a new issue, maybe you can ask the user to fill in maybe from a select list select the name of the activity or a task. So let us say if you have 5 or 10 of those activities, you don't have to basically ask the user to create those fields again. You can basically, based on that particular input from the user, you can basically configure your rule to create those issues with some pre-filled information. So this is something that you can do with automation. My personal preference would be to use CSV, because you can actually do it very easily. When you import CSV file, it will just do it immediately, and it works really well. So these are a few things that I wanted to talk about in this particular video. Automatic time input for task, how to create these issues in bulk, create some kind of issue repository, and also at the same time I wanted to talk about the possibilities where you can do it using automation. So that is all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Bye bye.